All right, so take two, I guess. I was interrupted. Video I was making earlier. I guess I'm not gonna upload the stuff, but this one's gonna be about the heart. I want people to understand just how much God does love us and how He reaches out to us every single day. And this, of course, is gonna be a part of the video series. How much does God love Jesus? And this is just another pattern that I found in life. With the heart specifically. I don't know if you guys ever have asked a question, or if you guys have children or something. Maybe they've asked you, why does the heart represent love? Or maybe you just pondered about it yourself. Why does the heart represent love? Like anytime you say you're in love with someone, you say, I heart Alejandro. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a very interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have ever come across this, but there are multiple things like He's always reaching out for us, and this is just one of those ways that He reaches out for us. It's a subtle thing, but I think that when you have many, many, many subtle things that come together, I think you have a greater witness. And these things, even though I say they're subtle because we don't pick up on them. But once you see it, you can't not see it. It's really weird. It's just like those pictures that they show you. Like if you have a friend that shows you those pictures, they're like, "Hey, what do you see?" And they're like, "Man, I can't really tell what that is. It looks like an old woman, but it turns out it's a young woman." I don't know if you've seen those dichotomy pictures. Once they show you one certain aspect, you're like, "Oh man, now that's all I can see." Like before, you may have saw an old woman, and then once they show you the young woman, you're like, "Oh, that's all I see is the young woman. I can't even see the old woman anymore." So it's going to be the same with this. Like once you start seeing how God is intimately involved in like almost, I would say, every single aspect of your life. Because I mean, breath, that's something we do on a like second by second basis, and that represents Jesus Christ. And once guys start seeing this, you'll have like a greater confidence in what you believe. Um, and every human being, they long for Jesus, even though they don't recognize it. On the previous video, like I was using me to like a certain example, and I know I've preached the gospel to several people in my Christianity or whatever. I've been a Christian forever. I've been a Christian for 8 years, but in my Christian life, I remember there was this one guy that he was asking me about. Um, he was asking me about Jesus. He was like, because I was telling him that I'm one with Jesus. Like me and him, we work together and do stuff together. And of course, if Jesus is God, then I'm one with God. And he said, if you're really one with God, then I want you to do something for me. So we were sitting outside in the smoking area at my school, and there was this dead branch, and he wanted me to give life to that branch. And I was super excited about it. Yeah, let's do this. Like me and Jesus, like we can do this. But I wasn't getting the okay from him. Like I felt that he didn't want me to do it. And I didn't know why. Like I was like, dude, we could easily do this. Like this is nothing. Like, dude, you're God. You can do whatever. So I was like, let's do this. And God didn't want me to. And it wasn't until like maybe a year after that that God finally, because he kept it in my mind. Like he filed it away somewhere in my brain. And then he reminded me of a lot of stuff later. Like the more you see from God, the more you're held accountable for those things. So that was one of the things that he showed me. Like, dude, if you're struggling to make it with what I've shown you already, and you're suffering this much, and you can barely take that suffering, can you imagine the suffering that goes along with performing miracles? Like Jesus Christ, like he performed so many miracles and did so many amazing things because he had a special relationship with God, and in that special relationship, he paid the ultimate price for it. Like he died on the cross. The apostles also. So I had no like, dude. There was no doubt in my mind that God could be like, dude, let's do this, because I was ready for it. I didn't care. Like, dude, let's faith this up. You know what I'm saying? But God wasn't about that. Like literally, that He wasn't about to do that. And I was like, oh snap. And I told him no, because I remember saying I can, but I don't know why God doesn't want me to. And literally, like he gave me the explanation, like you're required. To whom is given, much is required. And if God were to give me that, like, man, I'd be dying on a cross very soon. You know what I'm saying? But the other explanation also is that guy was literally asking for Jesus. You guys may not see it, but what did he want me to do? It was a dead branch, and he was asking for resurrection from the dead. Jesus is the resurrection and the life. That's a beautiful thing. Like even though this guy didn't know, and it was so subtle, and I have to tell him about it. I still see him every now and again. I had to talk to him about it, but he wanted Jesus. Like literally, the miracle that he was asking for was something that happened on a grander scale and a much more beautiful scale. Like instead of a tree being raised, it was Jesus, the man. Like that was so profound. Like literally, what he was asking for was an impossible miracle that Jesus had already performed on himself. And I thought that was so beautiful. Like, dude, what is happening? Like, when God revealed that to me, because obviously in that moment he didn't show me. Like, he didn't reveal that to me in that moment while I was talking to that person. Um, his name is Ali. Shout out to Ali. But yeah, I mean, he didn't reveal it to me then, just like he didn't reveal to me why he didn't want me to do it. But Jesus also says this. Like Jesus, when he was here, he said, "Look, guys, the only sign that's going to be given to you is the sign of Jonah." You see what I'm saying? He said, "A wicked and adulterous generation seek for signs and wonders." But the only sign that's going to be given to them is the sign of Jonah. That's pretty much what he gave them was the sign of the resurrection. And dude, that's what they looked for. It happened again recently. Like I was talking to an atheist from my philosophy club. It's not my club, but I go to a philosophy club or whatever. But um, yeah, I was talking to him, and he said that if God can't come down to my level, at least for a little bit, in order to show me that He exists, then He's not a God that deserves my worship. And I was like, dude, you have no, because this time God did reveal it to me. Like, I guess I've grown closer to Him since then. But immediately I was like, dude, what you literally asked for, Jesus already did. Like, He came down to your level. He condescended to your level just to be with you. And even right now, because I was telling him, as I'm speaking to you, Jesus is speaking to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, He's choosing to use me, and He doesn't have to. Like, God could do anything. God could do everything He wants. He could appear to everybody on planet Earth and say, "Hey, this is me. Like, I exist. Believe in me, and you'll go to heaven." But that's not faith, number one. And then I don't have a purpose in life. Like, He's taking away my purpose in life, which is to tell people about Him and help them grow in faith. Like, He didn't have to do things through me. Just like the Father, we could say the same thing about the Father. Why did the Father choose to use the Son? And He did it because of love. Um, and that's why He does everything. And you're going to see right now exactly why um, this whole thing, like, it's all because of love. So back to the heart, because this is just a one wonderful thing. Like, God doesn't have to use us, but that's part of His love for us. You see what I'm saying? Just like I don't know if you've ever helped your father with anything. Like sometimes you help your father fix the car, right? And you're you're like the one, hey, give me the wrench? You know, and I'm like, I don't do anything, but I'm there, and that makes my father happy, and it makes me happy. So it's the same way with God. Like even though He can do the work by Himself, He invites you in, and He wants you to be a part of the process, and that's why God chooses to use people rather than doing things like Himself. It's like love, just like a father with his son. Um, yeah, so anyway, this is about the heart though, so back to the heart. I think that y'all will get a big kick out of this. I'm gonna draw it on the board actually. Let's make sure we can see it. So here is a heart, right? Pretty cool. It's got 4 chambers, right? But what goes into the heart? So this is the important thing. Because this is how God showed it to me. It was so beautiful. Like, so you got the bloodstream or whatever, blah blah blah, all this blood. What actually happens in the body is as your body uses oxygen. Um, this is very simple, but during cellular respiration, so your tissues need oxygen. So when they use oxygen, they do a bunch of different things to produce ATP, the cells, and then after they do that, the give off is CO2 and water. So after all the processes in your body to use that oxygen and to make that ATP that your cells need in order to function, CO2 is given off. Um, and CO2 is, of course, our breath out. Like when we breathe out, human beings breathe out, they breathe out CO2. So CO2 is what we breathe out. And I don't know, it's very easy to see this as symbolizing. Of course, if you guys haven't seen the first video, I recommend you guys watch that. But CO2 represents death, right? It's pretty clear to see. Like the last thing you do before you die is you breathe out, and that breath out is symbolic of death. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. Of course, it is all symbolic in nature. I mean, it's not as though we're literally breathing out death, but we are breathing out CO2, which represents death. So what does your body do to get rid of it? So after all this stuff gets diffused into your bloodstream, and that blood, the blood symbolizes death, right? Deoxygenated blood has CO2 in it. It comes and it's deoxygenated, and it goes to the heart. So not, again, O2 represents, so O2 equals life, right? Again, watch that video if you guys haven't seen it. You breathe out death and you breathe in resurrection. That's symbolic of life. So this goes to the heart, right? And when it goes to the heart, it then gets oxygenated and then it goes back out to the body. But if you see it from God's perspective, you have death going to the heart. And then what does the heart do? The heart gives life. So what exactly did Jesus do? Jesus, he took our sins, right? So sins, you can say this is CO2, and you can put Jesus in a little heart right here. No, I love putting Jesus in a heart, man. It's so beautiful. Can you not see it? Is that too high? That's too high. Move over here. All right. Maybe just no. There you go. I can see it perfectly. Okay. So this is Jesus in a heart, right? So we have sins or CO2, whatever you want to see it as. It goes to Jesus, and this, of course, breaks Jesus' heart, right? He dies, and then what does he do? He's resurrected, right? And then that then goes out. This life goes out to the rest of the body, right? And that's representing O2. So it's a really beautiful thing. Even there's more symbolism in there because what does Jesus have to do? Like the heart and the lungs, they have to work together. So of course we have two lungs. It's really cool. It looks like a heart with angel's wings. But we have two lungs, and these lungs, symbolically, of course, you can have the Father, and then you can have the Spirit. So these are just symbols, but honestly, if you look at the body, this is like a really cool looking body, but if you just can see the symbolism, like Jesus takes the blood and he goes, the dead blood, he's dead, you know, like he's literally covered in our sins, and he goes before the Father and the Spirit in heaven, and of course, when they're united, they resurrect, and they give him the power of life, the power of resurrection, and what does he do? He then returns that evil that we have given him, he returns it, and he returns it as something beautiful and something perfect and something holy, which is life. And that's what love is. Like, love is never taking into account a wrong suffered. So we give him all of our wrongs, and then he gives us life. The same way the heart takes in all the deoxygenated blood and all the CO2, and what does it do? It then gives life. So it takes in the death, takes in the sin, the CO2, however you want to see it, and then it gives off that resurrection, that life, that O2, back to the body. And of course, now you start seeing why God says that Jesus is the head and that we're his body. Just the same way the head takes care of the body, Jesus takes care of us. And of course, this is where Jesus is. Like, everyone knows today, Jesus is in my heart. It's a verse in Galatians. Like, it's not just something Christians say, something that sounds beautiful. It's actually a verse. And we know that's where he lives. Like, that's where he communicates most of the time. Like, sometimes Jesus will give you a gut feeling. Not the heart feeling, really, not really a gut feeling. But sometimes you're unsure what to do, and then Jesus will give you peace and security in your heart with the decision you made, or Jesus will give you an inclination or a tug on your heart. Like, he literally lives in there. Like, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but if you're a Christian, you know, and if you're not a Christian, when you become a Christian, you'll know, you'll feel it. And that's where you do feel him. And that's his throne, man. He has a throne inside of my heart. It's freaking beautiful. But anyway, that's just a simple thing. Like, of course, the heart would represent love because it's what Jesus does. It literally takes in death and it gives off life. This is a beautiful thing that God showed me, and hopefully you guys will at least think about it, pray about it. I don't know. Sometimes I get a lot of flack from the religious community, like, oh no, that's just beautiful, but it's not really true, or No, that's not true completely. Like I get yelled at all the time from like religious people, but it was just something cool that God taught me, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. Pray about it, talk to God about it, and I guarantee you, man, he'll lead you, and he'll be like, oh snap, like that guy is right, of course. Or he may say, ah, maybe not this now. Like this guy's a little crazy for you right now. Come back to him later. I have no idea. But and if you're not a Christian, just feel free to comment. Even if you are a Christian, feel free to comment, ask me questions. All right, peace, love.